Man, our friend Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. It's always another big week in the NFL. Fun week. You're betting on the games, fantasy football. The weather has changed. Now you're cooking out even more. And we got all our pit masters out there throwing a bunch of protein on the grill, opening an ice cold Stella Artois or Busch Light, and enjoying some NFL football. I didn't enjoy the game on Sunday, so I turned it off because I have that right. And we're going to have to talk about that here in a minute. And Steve may think that the Cowboys just need to quit football. But until then, Steve joins us on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. And Steve, Skyline Chili, I was just told about this by Jason. And it doesn't sound good, but one, is it good, and do you eat it a lot since you're in Cincinnati?
No, it's horrendous.
That's what
terrible.
I thought.
It's not chili. I don't know what it is. It is something people who grew up in Cincinnati seem to love. And I go to Skyline Chili with my kids because they like spaghetti with the cheese that they put on it, which is like electric orange cheese. But, you know, it's fine. It's a good quick meal for the kids.
Sure.
I'll grab like some chicken tenders or something. They just added chicken tenders to the menu. So that's reasonable. I'll eat the chicken tenders and I'll eat the fries when I'm there. I will not touch the chili. I did try it once years ago, and it's not good.
Okay. See, when Jason described it to me, I thought the same thing, and it's something that Jason would like. But Jason has the palate of, you know, like Applebee's. So,
yeah.
You know, I didn't think it sat when he described it to me before. I went, God, it sounds like SpaghettiOs when I was like 5 years old. And
yeah, it's a step down from Applebee's, I'll say.
Oh my God! So this is like a fast food chain.
Yeah, you have Skyline and then Gold Star, and that's what they do. It's basically like a meat sauce that they call chili, and they throw it on spaghetti. I had it when I was playing professional baseball way back in '04. I played in this area, so I tried it once back then. I have not touched it since. So I'm almost 20 years free from Skyline Chili.
Okay, does Chris Collinsworth claim that it's good?
There's no way. No, Chris eats at Jeff Ruby's, you know, the high-end restaurant. Chris has his own steak at Jeff Ruby's, which is the top steakhouse in the area here. So Chris would never go to a Skyline. Absolutely not.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I've been to Jeff Ruby's in Louisville, Kentucky, and Jeff Ruby's in Lexington, Kentucky. Both are excellent places.
Yeah, they're great.
Yeah.
Ruby's is the best.
Yeah, those are good. Steve Palazzolo, and that's the opposite of the Dallas Cowboys right now. Basically, offense and defense. So where are you?
The 49ers are Jeff Ruby's, and the Cowboys are
Skyline Chili. There you go. That's great. All right. Thanks, Steve. We appreciate you coming on the show. So should the Cowboys quit football? I mean, where do we go from here knowing that they've got the LA Chargers Monday, and can they turn this thing around, Steve?
The Cowboys are going to be a tough one to figure out because I still think that they're a very good team. But obviously, at some point, they have to show that they're a very good team against the other good teams. So it could just be that Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan going up against Dan Quinn, their old teammates, right? Coaching teammates. It might just be that the 49ers, not only are they a juggernaut, but they're also just a bad matchup for the Cowboys. That's certainly possible. And then the Cowboys, I still think they're a very good team, right? They go out there and they blow out bad teams, and I think that the Cowboys will be more competitive in the two games against the Eagles and in division matchups. But, man, we're still asking that same question. You know, hey, the Cowboys are good, and they'll probably make the playoffs, but they're missing a lot if you think they're going to, go to the NFC Championship and beyond, and I think that was clearly evident on Sunday night.
Okay, I have why can't we just say that, okay, I do think that they're talented. I don't think they're overly talented by any stretch. I think the media likes to hype, some of their talent and then loves to hammer them when they're not as good. But why can't we say that, for example, the San Francisco, because you guys, I mean, y'all are the think tank for the NFL. Okay. And so y'all analyze and got all these analytics and so on. Why can't I say this, Steve, NFL insider Steve Palazzolo, that Howie Roseman, the general manager for the Philadelphia Eagles, spends 15 hours a day at least trying to make the Eagles better. And John Lynch tries to, the general manager for the 49ers does the same thing. And I could go with the Chiefs and some other teams. And the Cowboys don't have a general manager. To me, this is simple math in a league where you're fighting to be better by 1 millimeter. Why can't I frame it up that way, Steve?
You can, because there's some. I mean, obviously, there's some truth to that. I also don't think that Dallas's personnel moves have been disastrous. You know, and it's not like Jerry and Stephen Jones are the only ones making decisions, even if they might have the final say. They do have a good group there to aid them in personnel decisions. So, you know, it's tough to completely frame it like that. But yeah, there might be some truth to it, obviously. But look, I think Dallas is, you know, I thought they made some of the right moves this offseason. I don't know why Brandon Cooks has not been, you know, Brandon Cooks was like the guy that you could throw him in any offense with any quarterback who's going to get you 1,000 yards and be productive. And I'm not saying Dak's not that guy, but that was literally Brandon Cooks' entire career. Didn't matter who was thrown to him. Could be Davis Mills. Didn't matter. I mean, they have not, you know, gotten anything out of Brandon Cooks. You know, they traded for Stephon Gilmore. I thought it was a great move, but then Trevon Diggs gets hurt, and it kind of, you know, downplays the importance of that move. Or if you had Diggs and Gilmore out there, it'd be great. So, I mean, I think there's a lot of personnel moves that aren't really, in hindsight, bad. But, you know, maybe either haven't worked out or, you know. So you could frame it like that. That's fine. But I don't think Dallas's personnel is all that bad.
All right. So Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Whose fault is it? Dak was able to feed Cole Beasley. He was able to feed Amari Cooper. And up until this year, he was able to feed CeeDee Lamb. So those are all different players stylistically, and they all had big years with Dak. Is this on Dak? Is it on McCarthy? Is it on, you know, Jerry Jones' new girlfriend? What are we doing? Whose fault is it?
I think it's always going to be a combination. You know, I still don't think we've seen a ton of Mike McCarthy's offense because they've been up or down a lot. But again, in this game, I think you see when I said this before, right? McCarthy got criticized in Green Bay at the very end because it was a lot of, hey, receiver, go beat your guy, go win one-on-one, and Aaron Rodgers will get you the ball. And there wasn't a whole lot of scheming guys open, and I think we started to see that the other night. You also just see this 49ers defense that's incredibly fast and flying around, and they're good, right? They got a good pass rush. They've got two of the best linebacking core in the NFL, great secondary. They're just good. And so, yeah, I think there's a combination of blame, right? There's not that schemed up open throws for Dak Prescott. And also he's just not playing all that well. And I don't care about the interceptions. Those all came late. Like, he wasn't playing well before that other than the throw to Devontae Turpin. So it's all of them, right? It's all of them. I know you're a Dak guy, but it can't always be Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore, and Mike McCarthy. You know, at some point in big games or, you know, when you need him, it's got to be Dak. And, you know, he deserves some of the blame as well.
I agree. So what does he need to do as y'all critique his game?
I think there's got to be a little more aggressiveness to the offense. I'm sometimes I oversimplify things. There are stretches in players' careers where you see where quarterbacks just throw the ball short overall. I'm gonna be like, I don't know if you saw the reporter that was asking James Franklin at Penn State, yeah, why don't you just chuck it deep? Why don't you just tell Drew to throw it deep? So I'm gonna sound like that guy, which isn't really football, but I'm gonna oversimplify it. Matthew Stafford had points in his career where I think his offensive coordinators had him checking down too much and probably too conservative. Derek Carr went through stretches like this. But those guys are good quarterbacks who can get the ball down the field. Dak is a good quarterback who can get the ball down the field. I think to oversimplify things, there needs to be more aggression. There needs to be more CeeDee Lamb down the field and Brandon Cooks down the field, and they have to find a way to create explosive plays and not just dink and dunk down the field. And again, that doesn't mean just chucking it up into double coverage. It means, a concerted effort from the offense to create explosives. And I know every coach is trying to do that, but you got to force it a little bit more, because Stafford came out of it when he got to a system when the system allowed him to use his arm and throw the ball down the field more. Derek Carr came out of it when they had a deep threat that allowed him to throw the ball down the field or open things up down the field. Use Cavante. I know Turpin got hurt, but use him more. If he's got that type of deep speed, the Lions do that with their number 4 receiver every single week, Khalif Raymond. That dude, he's open for a 50-yarder seemingly every week. Those plays can be there. You have to have that balance of CeeDee Lamb at the star, but you got to have a deep threat, and you got to take those shots down the field, and you got to open things up for CeeDee and let him open things up for everyone else around him.
So is that Dak or the play calling or both?
No, it's both. Again, I think the play calling has to be more aggressive, and then the QB has to be more aggressive. And you got to say, look, we're gonna wait this out and see this, let plays develop down the field. And look, it's tough because I'm not a play caller, and play calling is not just like call the right play. It's a million different things rolled into one. It's playing to a QB's strengths. It's knowing where a QB sees the field well, where he doesn't see the field well. You can't just. We know that Kyle Shanahan's good, right? You see him being good.
Yes.
Over and over again. But it's also tough to pinpoint. Like, he just does this one thing well. Like, he does a lot of things well, right? He plays to Brock Purdy's strengths. He calls good plays that get guys open. He has good players who can get open, right? It's a lot of different things rolled up into one in San Francisco. So it's not like this clean answer. Mike McCarthy just has to call the better plays. It's all of that stuff rolled into one,
All right. Pro Football Focus, NFL insider Steve Palazzolo on the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. Where are you with Russell Wilson now? We're 5 games in. Sean Payton and the Broncos are not good. He mouthed off to Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets in the offseason. They just beat him last weekend. It looks like Sean may even have more work to do than he had in New Orleans post-Katrina. Granted, he did land Drew Brees, and Drew's shoulder was okay. So having said that, do you believe, hey, eventually in the next 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 weeks, this Sean Payton, Russell Wilson thing will start to gin and we'll get the lighter fluid going in the fire? Or Sean will eventually tell the ownership group that they're moving off Russell Wilson?
If the Broncos defense was not historically bad, and they are historically bad, it is maybe the worst defense through 5 games of all time by certain measures. If that wasn't the case, we'd be talking more about Russell Wilson, not necessarily being back or being a lead or top 8 again, but just being better than last year. He's been better than last year. Last week he wasn't great, but I think we're starting to have more evidence when QBs go up against the Jets, whether it's Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, now Russ, they don't play very well against that Jets defense. So I'm not going to hold that too much against them. Russell Wilson's been better. I think athletically he looks a little bit better than he did last year. The arm looks a little bit better than it was last year. There's absolutely some lulls in the offense where, much like last year, there's like a half where they don't even move the ball very well. And, Russ looks like he's just waiting to get sacked and not making throws. That's still there, but not nearly as often as it was last year. So I think Russell Wilson looks better and looks like a guy, hey, you're stuck with this contract for the next 2 years. You could probably still win with him, right? He's led comebacks. He's, kind of almost led a comeback last week. He's done some good stuff.
Okay.
They got to figure out the defense, though, because it's otherworldly disgusting.
So you expect Mahomes and the Chiefs to torch them tonight?
Yeah, it's football and things change, and it's a division matchup, and put all those caveats aside. The Chiefs' offense that has not looked as good as they've been in the past, they play the Broncos 2 out of the next 3 weeks. So coming out of this, there's a chance Mahomes in these 2 games against the Broncos in 3 weeks, it's like, 700 yards in 2 games and 8 touchdowns and no picks. Like, we could have another yeah, there could be a couple beatdowns in there because, the Chiefs' offense, it's a great get-right game potentially, multiple games here against the Broncos, unless Denver just figures it out. And I know it's easy to say, hey, they're historically bad. Other defenses in the past have been terrible through 5, 6, 7 games, and they've at least become competent. They've at least become competitive. So there's a chance that could happen. But, yeah, on paper, it looks like the Chiefs should absolutely destroy the Broncos 2 out of the next 3 weeks.
Okay, which means it won't happen maybe in one of the games.
Did I put enough caveats on that? Because it's NFL football, you don't know. It's a Thursday game. Who knows?
I know.
But,
Yeah, Jason and I were talking about that earlier, man. The NFL's different. I know we get blowouts, but high school and college is blowout city. This not so much. Steve Palazzolo, PFF.com. Check it out today. To say that they have great content on the site is an understatement. Okay, let's go to the Patriots and Belichick and Robert Kraft. I don't even know if this is as much about Mac Jones, but where are we headed here? I know he's got he's got a ton of equity in chips, but Robert Kraft is, I think, now over 80 years old. They got used to winning. They're not good. They're getting blown out. Speaking of blowouts, you're not supposed to get blown out in the NFL much, if any,
right? Because
of, as you know, the way the whole thing is set up, not like high school and college football. Where's this going? Could you see a divorce at some point? Will Bill just be too hard-headed and Belichick be too hard-headed and egotistical?
Yeah, I've talked a lot about the Patriots in various places this week. It probably need an hour to talk about it. But I think, long story short, it already looked like a year where if the Patriots went 8-9 or 7-10, we'd be asking those questions. Now, all of a sudden, it's been accelerated. They feel like a 7 or 8 win team, and they're now 1-4. They've only scored 55 points, and they've just gotten beaten 72-3 over the last couple of weeks. So I think that whole discussion's being accelerated. Is Belichick the right guy going forward? And then the other tricky part is he's the GM and the head coach. So there's probably, there's a lot of people who say, hey, Belichick the GM has failed Belichick the coach. And there's probably some truth to that. I don't think he's built a great team. But if you said, hey, Bill Belichick could be your head coach, I said, yeah, absolutely. He might not be – it doesn't mean he's going to win championships like he did before, but he's still a good head coach overall. And so I don't think there's a world where, Robert Kraft comes in and is like, hey, we're going to get you a GM. You just focus on the coaching. I think it's all or nothing. And so it's going to happen at some point. It's either this year or next year that I think they move on. And it's like a whole new world in New England. And they do have a divorce. I don't know what kind of patience, Robert Kraft has, son Jonathan maybe taking over more of the responsibility. But to me, the post-Brady era for the Patriots has been they beat teams that they're supposed to beat. They lose teams that they're supposed to lose to. They're a mediocre team. But now they've actually hit rock bottom, and they're worse than that. And that could accelerate the whole transition to just something new in New England.
Wow. Can you imagine if Belichick and Kraft divorce? And he's over 70. Do you think he would still try to find another gig?
It's funny because I thought Pete Carroll, Pete Carroll is just like a ball of energy. I'm not saying Belichick's not, but they have different personalities. But I thought Pete Carroll was done with rebuilding, and all of a sudden Seattle has this quick rebuild in their back with Geno Smith, and he's over 70 as well. It's doable. It's absolutely doable. I don't know about Belichick going somewhere else, though. It's not like he's going to go to the Chargers or, it would have to be a high-profile team. Does he go back to the Giants to finish his career? I don't know. There's so much that goes into building a team. I have a feeling this would be it for Belichick, unless he wanted to play the Bill Parcells role, play GM or whatever it might be. But I don't know.
Can you imagine Steve Palazzolo having Belichick as your general manager and you're the head coach?
No, that's not necessarily his strength. I don't want to, again, long story short, I believe my theory on it is I think Belichick's team building has been skewed by having Tom Brady, because whether he made good moves or bad moves, they were pretty much in the AFC Championship every year. They had the worst receiving core in the NFL, and they still made the AFC Championship in 2006 and in 2013. When he made good moves, they were competing for Super Bowls. So it feels like Belichick built a similar team, and he said, I've won with bad receivers before. I've won with a bad offensive line. I've won with a bad defense before. So it skews his moves because I think Tom Brady elevated everything. So now when you have Mac Jones and you don't have Tom Brady and you make the same moves you used to make, all of a sudden you're bad. You're a mediocre team or worse. So that's where I wouldn't necessarily trust Belichick, the GM, over Belichick, the coach. So, yeah, I don't know what that post-Patriots career might look like.
When you're ranking, let's go to the Eagles and A.J. Brown from Mississippi. When you're ranking wide receivers this year, where is A.J.? First, second, third, fourth?
I don't know where our actual grades have him, but he's always pretty much in my top 5 because he has those games where he could take over. Now, he did it the last 2 weeks where it's just, hey, we're in a shootout against Washington. I'm going to be the guy that's going to get down the field and make a play after the catch or at the catch point. So he can win multiple ways. He's a big play threat. I mean, A.J. Brown he's a top 5 receiver for me because he's a force multiplier for the offense. And, in games where they need him, he creates big plays. So I don't know where our actual grades have him this year, but yeah, I think he's still outstanding.
Yeah, good grief, he is. All right, last one, Gardner Minshew. He's now going to start for a while. What are your expectations?
He's been fantastic, those 2 relief outings behind Anthony Richardson, and he just makes good decisions. He's accurate and on time, and Indy's sitting here at 3-2 and pretty competitive now in the AFC South. Minshew's worst game was his start against Baltimore. They still won it in overtime. He had some bad plays in there, but yeah, I think he'll be what he is. Be pretty good, run the offense, and keep Indy competitive. I think they have a chance if it's 6 games. I mean, it sounds like Richardson's going to miss a while, so 6, 8, 10 games, whatever it might be. I think they'll be a 500-ish type of team with Minshew.
Okay, Colts at the Jaguars? Jags are a 4-point favorite. You going Jags?
Yeah, Jags seem to own Indy at home. It'll be it's in Jacksonville, right? So
yes.
They seem to own Indy at home. So there's this historical precedent there that I usually don't care about, but I think matters in this case. And I think the Jags should find their footing. They're another team that has to be consistent week to week, but they're coming off a huge win, and I think they've got the ability to go on a little bit of a run here. So yeah, I like the Jags.
All right. Dallas stays on the West Coast. They're playing the Chargers. I've got 1 minute. It's -2.5 Dallas. I don't know if they just stayed out there this week. They may have.
Yeah.
Who do you like and why?
I think Dallas does a great job of bouncing back. I think this is one of the games of the week. I like that it's Monday Night Football. Dallas does a great job of bouncing back as soon as people start writing them off and yelling at them on the yelling shows. So I think Dallas will play a good game. But I'm also ready for the Chargers to kind of turn a corner as well and be what I expected them to be this offseason. So I think it's going to be a great game. I'll buy into Dallas bouncing back, though. On Monday Night Football. Not having to, the Mike McCarthy era, they have not lost 2 games in a row. Maybe not ever, but often. They certainly haven't done it often. So I think Dallas bounces back.
All right, man. Get you some Skyline Chili for lunch. Get ready for the weekend. And is it raining up there? Or just nice day?
No, it's beautiful. It is. There's 3 weeks of fall up here. We're right in the middle of it.
Enjoy it, my man.
60s. All righty. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy. Steve Palazzolo, Pro Football Focus, PFF.com. Site is loaded with good content for you for the weekend. This is week 6 of the NFL. Somebody questioned me yet. Cowboys at the Chargers. So they were just in the Bay Area. They're staying on the West Coast. So that's not ideal, but back-to-back weeks on the West Coast, played in the Bay Area, got smoked. Now you play in L.A. against the L.A. Chargers, which I like to refer to them as the San Diego Chargers. Oh, man.